Welcome back. Look, we got a good one today. Stephen A. Smith, Candace Owens, her fear of World War III, Israel, Iran, anti-Semitism, Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz, which I think Tucker owned them. Trump, more. Will Trump do the right thing? Will he keep us out of this? Make America first. Let's see what Candace Owens got to say. Y'all know I love her. We got Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. All we need is some PBD and Pierce Morgan to be a great goddamn week. No missiles, no American troops. Gone.
My guest today is a woman by the name of Candace Owens.
Yes, sir.
Married with 4 children, very, very popular, conservative pundit, has been for years. She's been incredibly controversial along the way in the eyes of a lot of people. She has spoken out against the Me Too movement. She has spoken out against Black Lives Matter. She has spoken out against some people within the conservative community. She definitely has made her voice heard about what she believes as it pertains to the Democratic Party. The list goes on and on. You've heard of Blexit, which she created years ago. You've heard of other things that she has done. She's a best-selling author as well. And she has a very popular podcast that's now eclipsed more than 4 million subscribers. But she's not a fan favorite in the eyes of a lot of people. And in this particular day and age, certainly not anybody from the Jewish community. In light of her comments about Israel, specifically the leadership of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, she has spoken out fervently and feverishly on many, many occasions. And with this sit-down interview, without much prompting, she certainly didn't hesitate to do so this particular moment in time.
Let's go.
And as I think about that, I think about all the things that I want to discuss with her. I think about the controversial issues and challenges that she has faced. I think about her views about Christianity, her views about politics, her thoughts on immigration, and how these views has led to her life being threatened. All of these are things that I was looking forward to. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. My guest is known for her sharp wit, her candid opinions, as far as I'm concerned.
He went in on the niceties.
Highly intelligent positions. She hosts the popular YouTube show, Candace. Please welcome back to the show, the one and only Candace Owens. How are you, Candace? How's everything?
Everything is good. You know, new baby, so I'm barely sleeping, but it's, of course, a blessing.
Well, first of all, you don't look it, so compliment to you. That's number one. Number two, you're just getting back into action. Before I get into some of these questions, because I couldn't wait to talk to you about this stuff. How long have you been out? How much of a break did you take?
I took 6 weeks and made a couple of appearances because some stories were just so big that I felt like I needed to respond to them. But other than that, I've just kind of been in baby world.
I got you. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, because I definitely wanted to talk to you about a couple of things, and of course yourself, but let's get right into it. I want to have you back on to get your perspective on some trending news headlines. You called the escalation between Israel and Iran a propaganda war. We all know what's been going on between Israel and Iran. We've heard President Trump speak about it. You've been on the record calling it a propaganda war. Explain that, Candace.
Well, it was very obvious that this war was going to happen because the American foreign policy is dictated by Israel. And
Damn shame.
it was problematic that Bibi Netanyahu was increasing his rhetoric against Iran. And this is after they have effectively seized land in Syria. They were cheering what happened in Syria. We knew that it was going to wind up with Christians being mass murdered, which is what's happening right now. And what's happening in the Middle East, for those who aren't clear on this, is Israel is simply is expanding its borders, whether that be by carpet bombing women and children, which we have not had a person with power effectively state that this is morally wrong, of course. And now it seems they also want to annex the West Bank. What's happening in the West Bank, which has nothing to do with Gaza, is the individuals that live there are being traumatized by the IDF. And so if you're paying attention, it's very clear that they have become increasingly radical, and they are effectively, as they always do, using the American military to fulfill their foreign policy interests, because they are a small nation. They don't have the bodies to be able to accomplish that. They need the might of the American military to accomplish their foreign Middle Eastern objectives. And so yeah, it was very, I am on record saying this for the last 2 years. We're going to war with Iran one way or the other because what Bibi Netanyahu wants is what Bibi Netanyahu gets.
That's a sad reality. Right now, go to the comments and put if you think we should be involved in any kind of war. Or should we focus on eggs, milk, bread, cheese, rent?
How is that the case? Because listen, I'm watching the Daily Show the other day, and I'm watching Jon Stewart, who obviously is a supporter. He's Jewish, and he's a supporter of the Jewish community in Israel, of course. But he spoke out about how Netanyahu was saying the same thing recently that he said in 2018, that he said in 2015, that he said in 2011. And what's surprising to me is that there seems to be a community divided within the own Jewish community. You have some people who are about being isolationists, which is something we'll get into later, and don't necessarily support this. And then you got guys like conservative pundit Mark Levin, who I know that you know a thing or two about. You know I know him. I've known him for years. And he is fixated on this. He believes that America should be involved. He believes that Iran is evil and that they need to be wiped off the face of this earth. And that essentially the threats that they've made, not just to Israel, but death to America as well, justifies the kind of things that we have been seeing. Do you
so just because a country don't like us, mean we got to go wipe them out? And since when has America been the fucking the mightiest and the most righteous person enough to be able to go judge others? We don't even like our government. We don't even trust our government, but we're gonna trust them to say, "Oh yeah, they got weapons of mass destruction again. Yeah, we need to go to that war." They lie to us, and we're gonna trust them. Come on.
Do you take that into consideration when you're giving your thoughts?
No war.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that the public needs to recognize is this intentional conflation, and it's completely wrong, of Israel, the foreign nation, which is being led up by Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, and Jewish people. That would be an absolute nonsense if I sat here and I said, well, whatever happens in Nigeria, it means that if you critique the Nigerian government, that you're somehow against Black people in America. We would all say that's a nonsense. But they have been very successful in this idea that if you critique what is happening in the Middle East and what actions are being led by Bibi Netanyahu's government, radical government, then you're somehow anti-Semitic. So it shouldn't surprise you to see that many Jewish people have taken to the streets. Not only Jewish people, by the way, Israelis, because as we know, even in America, you can be an American.
Over 60% of Jewish people, Israelis, don't support Netanyahu.
American and not support what the government is doing. I am not supporting right now the decisions that are being made by the Trump campaign as it pertains to Middle Eastern policy. But they have a disagreement. You have Israelis taking to the street, boycotting, protesting Bibi Netanyahu. And similarly, you have Jewish people who recognize that there has been this wrong conflation, as if all Jewish people agree with the nonstop campaign of bombing in the Middle East, which has essentially been in effect since 1948, since the creation of Israel as a nation. And so I'm not conflicted or confused about what's happening. I find it to be as disingenuous as attaching, well, if you critique Black Lives Matter as an organization, this means that you're critiquing all Black people. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that whatsoever. I'm critiquing the Israeli Prime Minister. I am critiquing their actions, really their actions which have began since 1948.
The children in Gaza are still starving. They estimate over 60,000 people have died so far in Gaza and counting.
The more that I become educated about the topic, it has always been this despicable. It has always been a campaign of burning, of carpet bombing and theft, stealing lands. And when people notice what they're doing, they say, well, you can't say that because of anti-Semitism. That's ridiculous, okay? You know how I feel about this, especially as someone who's been called an Uncle Tom and a coon for critiquing things that were happening within the Black community. I am not going to respond to name calling. I'm going to respond to the facts. And the facts are what Bibi Netanyahu is doing in the Middle East is a terrorist campaign.
Facts, Candace.
I saw a recent episode, I forgot who you were talking to, forgive me for not knowing his name, but you were showing highlights of Dave Portnoy, for Barstool, and how he was going at one of the individuals that I think he employs. And he went ballistic because of a joke that was being aimed in his direction or what have you. And I don't remember the joke, so I apologize for that. But you were highlighting his reaction because you were pointing out how he could joke about some things, but if you joke about anything at this particular moment in time, it's going to be labeled anti-Semitic. Is that something that you feel fervently about, that you feel adamant about, in terms of you just can't say anything is such a lopsided thing? Because when I think about the Jewish community, of course, I'm looking at some of the things that are transpiring. I don't like it one bit. In the same breath, I'm thinking about October 7th from a couple of years ago when they were attacked and people were kidnapped, people were killed, et cetera, et cetera. And the retaliation on their part was predictable and in the eyes of a lot of people, understandable. That's where I come from with it.
60,000 people dead is more than fucking even. That's where you
Where
draw the
are
line.
you coming from with it when I use a Portnoy example or others as you allude to anti-Semitism, which is obviously a grave concern for the Jewish community at this particular moment in time?
First and foremost, I can think of nothing more anti-Semitic than 2 years of bombing the Palestinians, who are a Semitic people. That's another thing. They just decided they're the only Semitic people, which is absolutely absurd and it's erroneous. But further to your point, there was this media effort, and we've all seen over the last 2 years, there's been this increasing slur of anti-Semitism everywhere. Like, people who have been in the public space forever and have never been accused of being anti-Semites are now being accused of being anti-Semites, me being one of them. I worked for 2 Jewish organizations before I was suddenly being accused of being anti-Semitic. So sometimes on its face, you have to ask yourself a question. And again, I will use the example of BLM, where suddenly it seemed like everyone was being accused of racism to the point that it was becoming a parody. Like, someone would braid their hair and they'd be like, cancel this girl because this is appropriation. When you start to see that increase, and what people are actually trying to do is control speech, right? This guy said, I think it's okay if someone jokes at you and calls you Rabbi Dave Portnoy, you should be able to take a joke, right? Welcome to the internet. Everyone's called different things. And he has a meltdown and asks him, Dave Portnoy says, how many Jews have to die before you stop joking? That's an emotional manipulation tactic, okay? Nobody dies from a joke, okay? Nobody dies if somebody tweets at Dave Portnoy, hey, you're Rabbi Dave Portnoy now, as they're critiquing you. And you only do that, you only start to come in on speech and to demand all these rules and these cancellations when you have something to hide, when you are wrong, okay? Because when you're winning on the basis of your ideas, when you're winning on the basis of the argument, you don't ask for more censorship. I want the debate. When I know I'm right about something, I'm not going censor the wrong guy. I'm like, platform the wrong guy, get me across from him so I can embarrass him. So we knew this was coming on the basis of this increase of smearing people as anti-Semites for asking rational questions.
Like, why don't you let journalists inside of Gaza? You see Iran's bombing Israel back, retaliatory. And I seen a bunch of stuff so far. I didn't even watch it, but I seen a bunch of stuff inside Tel Aviv, inside this. We're watching it, but we can't. Journalists aren't allowed inside Gaza to see the people and see what they think and to show us that they're starving. They don't want that to happen though, but we see they're suffering.
And so I'm not surprised that we've arrived at this point.
And it's messed up because they do have suffering, but it's like your suffering isn't greater than anyone else's. That's why it's just, let's stop it.
Well, where I would push back on that, Candace, is that's you. You're highly intellectual, very, very articulate, very researched, exceptional at defending your points, etc. And so that could give you the, I don't want to say the motivation, but the ability to be calm and collective in articulating a point of view to refute something somebody else is throwing at you. But if you're a Dave Portnoy, just to use this example, and you're a Jewish individual who emphatically believes that there's anti-Semitism raving through this country, if not this world, at this particular moment in time, you can't understand why he would react. And I'm not saying he should have gone as far as he did, but can you understand where he's coming from when he's passionate about it? Because to me, it's coupled with a fear that the Jewish community is feeling at this particular moment in time because of what they're doing. And to use your word,
you know what they've caused? It's some people on the right that say, oh, you're anti-Semitic. There's anti-Semitism. Some of the same people will say, oh, no, there's no such thing as racism. So people can be hated because of their religion or ethnic background, but their color, no. It don't make sense. Instead of saying, yeah, there's some people that's anti-Semitic. Yeah, there's some people who are racist, but it don't matter. Like, as long as they don't stop you from doing nothing, put their hands on you, who cares?
it's because of the action of their own government in Israel.
I can't understand it, not even Okay. And nothing is more obnoxious than having somebody as successful, a multimillionaire who probably doesn't even touch his own door handles, pretending that he's just so terrified and he can't go outside. That's a nonsense. Okay. He is trying to hype up his victimhood because he does not have an argument to make. And that's what people do. They lean into victimhood when they cannot rebut an argument. It would have been very easy for him to calmly explain, this is the reason why this is wrong. And so died because of this joke. Someone fell over and died because someone tweeted Rabbi Dave Portnoy. But that's nonsense. So he went with screaming, and then in this weird slave owner vibe tells him, I own you and I pay you and I own you, which is just, quite frankly, despicable.
Got you. You know what? I got to keep in mind, Candace, when I'm talking to you, I'm going to make sure I don't raise my voice or anything like that. I mean, you got me wondering if I did the wrong things by raising my voice, talking sports for crying out loud. Because that's a good. I'm like, let me look at myself. Let me check myself just a little bit more in the future, because Candace is bringing up some very valid points. I got it. Let me move on to Tucker Carlson while I have you here, and I want to get into you a little bit later because I want to talk about some things involving you directly. But right now, I wanted to touch on Tucker Carlson, the former Fox News host, got into a fiery exchange on Tuesday, with Senator Ted Cruz over his support for President Trump and his posturing towards Israel. At least that's what Tucker Carlson claims it to be. I want to show you this clip right now with Tucker Carlson getting into it with Ted Cruz. Take a look at this, Candace.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help.
Oh.
I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Candace?
Yo, just the way Tucker Carlson, you could imagine having an argument with him and him just getting under your skin like, I told you, look, like, look, whoa, you mad? Like, that's exactly he get under his skin. Like, I could just imagine that. Oh my God.
American people are so frustrated with, right? You have a person who is keen to go to war with Iran, and he is suggesting that it is, I guess, a form of trickery to ask him, what is the population of Iran? If you're going to make a vote that we should go to war with this nation on behalf of Israel, and it is a fact that Ted Cruz accepts a lot of money from AIPAC, so they lobby, and the Israel PAC lobbies. He's one of the senators that takes a lot of money from AIPAC every year. You would imagine that you've made some estimation in your mind that there is a imminent perceivable threat to the American.
Yeah, Candace Owens is good, man. It took her a little bit. People thought she was against black people because she was going against Black Lives Matters, but really it was just the people that was robbing and looting stores. Just like now, they have the whole immigration and they rioting in LA, robbing jewelry stores and throwing rocks at the police cars and setting taxis on fire. They ain't got nothing to do with immigration. They just using that as an excuse.
American people, if you are in fact America first and concerned about Americans, and B, that if we go to war with them, we can win. And so in going through that line of questioning in your head, can we win this? Like, is there a threat to the American people? You, of course, are going to assess the population size. Like, we're a nation of 300 million people. How big is our military? They're a nation of how many people? How big is their military? And he hasn't done that. He's admitting like, hey, I actually don't even know the population size of Iran. I do expect you to know the population size of Iran. That'd be a pretty basic thing if you're going to vote yes to going to war. And the reality—
if you're going to go to war with a country, you probably want to Google it. Like, oh, we're going to war with Iran. Population of Iran. How big is their military? That's basic stuff. If you're going to war with them, you want to go.
Is he can't answer that question because, like many people in Congress, left and right, they vote according to how they are lobbied. So if it's big pharma, they're voting for everyone to have to take the COVID vaccine because I took X amount of dollars from big pharma, right? Or I took X amount of dollars from this pharmaceutical company. If it's big war and you're dealing with the nonstop war, there's always been a threat in the Middle East, right? And we've lost all of those wars, right? The Taliban has our weaponry. There were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Generation 9/11 has grown up. We are demanding that all of you be able to answer some basic questions and to explain why a threat, which Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, 8 weeks ago, sat down in a congressional hearing and testified that there was no nuclear threat 8 weeks ago. Now, suddenly, 8 weeks later, there is one, right when...
Almost like during 9/11, there was nothing, and then all of a sudden there's weapons of mass destruction. We got to go get them. When really they wanted the oil.
Israel decides that they want to bomb Iran. It's a nonsense. And I am tired of being gaslit by our politicians to pretend that we don't understand and can't perceive the threats. The threat, actually, frankly, is Israel, because we go to war and it only benefits them.
You know, you sound very, very disgusted. I'm wondering where the word fear comes into play. I believe I read, or doing my research, I was told that you feel you needed security. Obviously, some of the things that you say are incredibly polarizing, particularly in this day and age right now. Whether it should be or not is for somebody else to conclude. I'm just telling you what they're saying. When you take that into consideration right now, as you look at your life, you just was on maternity leave, you got 4 kids, you're happily married, etc. How comfortable is life for Candace Owens right now, or lack thereof, dare I say?
Well, I want to be honest. I have tremendous fear of God. And that's why you have to tell the truth, right? If you declare Christ's kingship and you truly are a Christian, then your number one fear is of God, because this is not it. We get 80 years in this life, and then we're in the next. And so when you see these people who pretend to be Christians and they look at what Israel is doing, they look at the nonstop campaign of starvation. You can look at the videos of them bombing children, the children crying, shooting children as they try to run for food, and you pretend to declare Christ's kingship, and yet what you're actually fearful of is saying that that's wrong because you don't want to be canceled, because you don't want to lose your job, because you don't want people to call you an anti-Semite. I question your sincerity is what I would say. I don't sit in the seat of judgment, but what I say to people is you are going to one day meet your maker. So you better start doing the right thing, which is to tell the truth unapologetically. And I want, in terms of my family, I want my children to inherit that from me, to be passionate for the truth, which is to be passionate for Christ, right? That is what Christ is. Christ is the truth. You have to follow Christ at all times. And I've made my position very clear on this.
Who are you saying is pretending to be Christian, just for clarification? Because you alluded to
well,
people
the argument that has been made by people, and Tucker Carlson just released further parts of this interview with Ted Cruz, and he says, why should we follow Israel? And he says, well, the Bible says that if I, bless Israel, then I will be blessed. That is what Ted Cruz says to Tucker Carlson about why we should be following.
That's why they want to send us to war, because their Bible says if you bless Israel. That's simple. Are you kidding me?
Following them into this war. And Tucker Carlson, who's a Christian, pushes back on that. He's like, well, let's get into the theology of this. You think that you are going to be blessed, and I'm filling in the blanks here, but essentially what Ted Cruz is offering is that you will be blessed if you allow this nation, which was created in 1948, that Genesis is referring to, this modern nation of Israel, all right, to bomb, starve, kill, take land whenever they want, blackmail our politicians, Jeffrey Epstein, a lot of questions about who shot JFK and why we couldn't get those files. You're going to be blessed if you keep supporting this. And that is the reality, is that there was this incursion after the Schofield Bible. And this is what I really challenge people who believe this heresy, to look into the history of the Schofield Bible, look into who funded that Bible, to teach Christians how to view the nation of Israel. The Bible is not referring to the modern state of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. God is not calling upon you to support the slaughter of women and children perpetually, and is going to award you with heaven because kids are crying and starving and dying in the Middle East. I mean, you do have to have, if you don't have religious fervor or religious understanding, please just have a little bit of common sense, okay? God does not support the nonstop murder of innocent lives. That's just like Christian.
These people call themselves Christians are calling for the mass slaughter of a Muslim nation.
Christianity 101.
Back to you. Have you heightened your security? I asked you that question because I heard that you've spoken about that. I'm just asking. I don't know. Interested in it. Have you?
Let's be frank. I have not heightened my security, to answer your question. And the reason for that is because I understand what kind of demons we're fighting. And I put my faith in the Lord. You know, my protection is prayer. And I try to live my life very honestly and let people know what's going on in the background. Obviously, I don't know if you saw this, but while I was on maternity leave, the FBI called me. There was a group chat with 40 Jews in New Jersey plotting my assassination.
I did not see that.
Really happened. Yeah.
They had 40 Jews in Jersey. Some mafia hitman stuff. Oh man, Candace, watch out.
A man was arrested, and by the way, the irony of this is we are told, because he was upset that I'm speaking against the state of Israel, we are told that in Iran we have to invade because they're religious fanatics, right? Well, look at what we're dealing with. People that believe that this state has the right, God has blessed them with the right to murder and kill people. And we also have their supporters now trying to kill Candace Owens. That's a fact. You can go look this up. The FBI, Candace Owens, the guy who's been arrested. By the way, he pled guilty. This wasn't like he got caught up in some plot. He pled guilty to trying to murder Candace Owens. Yeah, I think that really does say it all. We are in quite a paradox here.
Hold that thought, Candace. Hold that thought. I got more to ask you, but not before I pay these bills. Back with more in a minute. Of MAGA, and you were saying it's counter to what we're witnessing today. So on one side, you might see a conservative commentator like a Mark Levin. You might see a Ted Cruz. You might see folks like that. And you look at Donald Trump and some of the things the president is doing in this day and age, and you juxtapose that to a Steve Bannon, a Tucker Carlson, even Marjorie Taylor Greene. She spoke about this as well. You seem to be on that side. And just to make sure that I'm clear with what I'm talking about, this is a quote, there's a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene on X. Tucker Carlson is one of my favorite people. He fiercely loves his wife, children, and our country. Since being fired by the neocon network Fox News, he has more popularity and viewers than ever before. He unapologetically believes the same things I do, that if we don't fight for our country and our own people, then we will no longer have a country for our children and our grandchildren. And foreign wars / intervention / regime change put America last.
America first.
Kill innocent people are making us broke and will ultimately lead to our destruction. That's not kooky. That's what millions of Americans voted for. It's what we believe is America first. How do you feel about what Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted there on X? Do you completely agree with her? Is there anything that you disagree with?
Well, let's be clear. Right now, the people applauding Donald Trump are Meghan McCain, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz ran against Donald Trump, and John McCain, with his dying breath, was a never-Trumper, with his dying breath. And I remember Meghan McCain standing at his funeral saying, this country was always great. It never needed to be made great again, to take a stab at Trump, even as she was giving words for her father, which is remarkable, right? So if Trump is aligning himself with the people that didn't support him, and the people that did support him are saying what he's doing is wrong, that doesn't mean that MAGA betrayed Trump. That means that Trump is betraying MAGA, okay? MAGA is a term, make America great again. And it was because the American people felt like our country was in a steep decline while we were being told.
And if a part of being MAGA, making America first again, is calling the truth. We told the truth about fucking Biden, that he had dementia, couldn't probably tie his shoestrings, how they went past the democratic process and just gave us Kamala Harris. They ain't put a bunch of people up and say, oh, these are your 4 choices. And then people pick Kamala. They're like, hey, take it or leave it. And then Obama and them came out and said, oh, take it or leave it. we believed in Trump when he said, "Oh, I'm different. I don't want wars. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. I'm gonna do it." Well, war ain't good for business, and that's what we're saying Trump better do. Otherwise, we're gonna be talking about him too. He ain't exempt.
That we had to build up every other country with programs. We had to spread democracy in the Middle East. That's been a remarkable failure. And at the same time, our veterans are coming home and they're being treated like crap. We talked about the farmers. We talked about the ranchers. That was the vision that Donald Trump painted that made me get behind him. And I took a lot of bullets for that. A lot of bullets for that, especially as a Black person who's not allowed to vote Republican. And I don't regret voting for him in 2020 and voting for him and telling people to vote for him, because I truly believe he was the better candidate. And I still don't regret voting for him against Kamala Harris, because I still believe he was the better candidate. But this is a betrayal.
Facts.
Plain and simple. There's no other way to say that. And I believe what's motivating that is he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. And these people, you're talking about Mark Levin, they are Israel first, okay? Meghan McCain, she is war machine first. How's that trust fund going to get topped up? What did John McCain do? These people are neocons because they support nonstop war, because that is how they enrich themselves. And if that is what Trump is aligning with, if that's what he wants his legacy to be, I came in fighting neocons and now I've aligned with him, then that's on him. That really is. I can't tell him what to think or what to say or who to support. I just won't support it.
That's fair, but does that surprise you? Because listen,
hell yeah, 60% of the people that voted for Trump thought he was going to come in and tell Netanyahu, listen, Biden gave you everything you want, and I know both Republicans and Democrats were giving you what you want, but I'm different. I ain't doing it. And he hasn't done that shit yet.
In fairness to you, like I said, I only spoke to Trump once since he's been president, and that's when I did the whole town hall thing on News Nation with Chris Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly and those guys. Prior to that, I'd never spoken to Trump since 2014. But before he ran for president, people in the sports community knew Donald Trump very, very well. We used to go to his fights at the casinos and the hotels and stuff like that. We used to see him at basketball games, talk to him all the time. And the Donald Trump we knew was what folks, maybe not you specifically, I don't recall this, but most folks classified him as, Candace. He was a deal maker. You know what? Whatever it took to get what he wanted, he was cool with it. And so for me, this is not a surprise when you talk about him veering left or veering right, actually, when it comes to some of the things that he's elected to do. But most people with MAGA seem surprised, and they do feel like they are uttering words like betrayal. To me,
it is politics as usual. We expected Trump to do his thing, but the whole thing is he was unpredictable. Like, he could make a deal with them, like, okay, cool, I'll take your money, give me $100 million, yeah. But when it comes down to it, be like, nah, I don't think we should do it. That's what we expect. On this Iran thing, when he's giving them a week, when he's telling them they better do it, or more might come, or they got a certain time limit, we're like, whoa, what are you doing? You're supposed to stop Ukraine, Russia, and then you're supposed to stop Israel, Gaza at the time, really. But now it's Israel, Iran.
It's more the same. It's who he is. He's going to lean towards getting what he wants, and it's just that simple.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. I would say why we're surprised is because we had him in office for 4 years, and he wasn't a warmonger. He wasn't aligned with the neocons. He was fighting them tooth and nail the first 4 years that he was in office. And it seemed to us that and I think anybody would agree, the country was getting better. I mean, I think that's why he increased his margins in voting. If you look at the demographics, more Black men, more Black women voted for him this second time around when he got into office. Because the rhetoric fell on deaf ears when people were like, oh, he's going to do this. He's going to bring us into war. Well, we go, he didn't do that for the first 4 years. So yeah, it has been a shift in how he behaved in the first 4 years of office. But to put two and two together, big money wasn't behind him the first time, right? That was the whole thing. Nobody wanted him. It was the Never Trump movement that was led by the McCain types. He can't get into office. And so did he buck to them suddenly when he took that check from Miriam Adelson and then change his motivations? Perhaps we're having to do some internal soul searching for those of us who have voted for him second and third time to wonder what is the sea change. But I think you have to admit that there has been one. He wasn't putting us into wars from 2020 to 2024.
Are you fearful at all that the Trump presidency, as in him, in terms of him being the 47th president of the United States, that it could end up being worse than anything you ever imagined if Kamala Harris had won the election? Is that possible?
No, I think Kamala Harris, it was going to be similar to Joe Biden. The advisors and people that were around her were going to be running the show. And we can disagree on this, but I've never thought that she had the cognitive capabilities to be running the office. If you just look at her record and how she really got into office, and I'm speaking about her Californian record. But with Trump, do I have a fear of World War III? Yeah, that's why we're speaking up and saying this is unacceptable, right? That's why we are saying what you are doing is wrong and letting him know that.
That's why we here, cave dwellers. Speak the truth, no matter what side.
We feel betrayed. We went along with it and said, this is fine. We just trust the process. Then I would probably be more fearful. But I think it's becoming clear that the base is fractured, and hopefully he'll respond to that.
Candace, where do you go from here if he doesn't respond, or he doesn't respond favorably to the kind of things that you are asserting and stating? Where do you go? Because we know how you feel about the Democratic Party, okay? And now we're hearing how you feel about this betrayal that you think that he has exercised since he's become president again. Where do you go from here if that doesn't change as it pertains to him?
Well, I think no matter what, I'm always going to support a candidate that I believe is telling the truth or that is going to do the most good for America. At the end of the day, my day is not motivated by politicians. I don't have faith in politicians, right? I have faith in Jesus Christ. And so this is not going to throw, I'm not going, oh my God, I'm going to become a Democrat tomorrow, or I'm going to become I'm no longer going to vote for Republicans anymore. I think that, and if anything, if he really truly continues to follow this and does what Bibi Netanyahu wants, then it's going to bring both sides closer together, because we're going to recognize that everything is about keeping us warring with one another while the same people at the top are benefiting, the oligarchs, the war machine. And so I don't have plans to leave the Republican Party. Like I said, I don't regret voting for him.
We want Bernie Sanders or Vivek Ramaswamy.
I regret what he's doing right now. And until I see who the candidates are, I won't be able, in the future, I won't be able to remark on where I'm going to go, because I'm always going to follow what I believe to be right.
Does any candidate stand out there in your mind? I mean, when I think about it, they've been talking about me as a presidential candidate. Candace, get that out their head. I'm not qualified. I don't know. I'm learning stuff from you and everybody else. I don't know any better. And damn it, I'm not interested. But I will tell you, I am interested in highlighting those who deserve to be highlighted from both sides of the aisle, to make sure we can do what we can to get this country steered in the right direction and see some figurative light at the end of the tunnel, per se. Is there anybody that's standing out in your mind that we should pay close attention to moving forward?
Thomas Massie of Kentucky. He has been the most consistent America First person. He has earned the ire of Trump and the ire of AIPAC because he does not accept their money, and he votes against every war, and he will not send a single dollar overseas. He votes against every measure to send money overseas until the American people are taken care of first. And so, yeah, he is the person that I peer pressure the most to run for president, and I would get behind him. And I feel that he would never betray the American people, because just you can look at his voting record and see where he stands on the issues.
Damn, Candace, only one? I asked you had some names, and you gave me one name. So I'm going like this. That's a bad state of affairs. As much as you know about politics, as much as you follow this stuff, if I ask you an open-ended question like that and you only give me one name, I got a reason to be really, really nervous.
So no, I'm not impressed with politicians on the left or the right at the moment, at varying degrees. They betray us more than others, but there's no one that I find to be impressive right now.
That's crazy. We just got to accept that they're going to lie to us. We're just looking for the ones that don't lie to us a lot about important stuff. Look what we have. Look what we got in America. And we think we can tell somebody else's regime that they need to go or destroy them.
And maybe there's some people that I'm missing, and I'm sure I am, that are outside, that sit outside of DC. Right. But in terms of people that are in DC, Thomas Massie is the first name that comes to mind.
I think, listen, it's not to me, I don't have a problem with America first. I do have a problem with America only, because I don't want to be a nationalist to the point that I forget the global perspective, because obviously we do business across the world. When I think about Israel, I'm saying to myself, that's supposed to be the lone democracy in the Middle East.
No, it's America first. It's America only, like, in terms of war. Like, we're not going to war because your politicians want to. If we decide to, then that's fine for our reasons. But because you want to, and you got a problem. Because if Iran had nukes right now, they couldn't get here. We got a whole ocean in between us. We'd shoot down their missile and then we'd destroy them. But because Israel want to start something and spread their empire, no, that's what we mean by America first. Not America only. We got to help Israel. They're in such danger. They're in danger because they want to start shit.
You're looking at Ukraine. Okay, if you don't support them, then Russia gets more empowered. I get a bit concerned about that. Again, I don't know as much as
Russia get more empowered. What does that mean? Russia got nukes too. Are they in danger? That part of the Ukraine that they want, they damn near owned for a long time before war broke out, and they just stopped like calling it Russia. It was basically part of it. Ukraine should just give them what they want. Boom, they got it. They come to some type of truce treaty. That's it. What are we doing?
people like yourself, but those are the kind of things from a distant perspective I look at and I say, okay, I don't want to just be pouring money all over the place, but in the same breath, if these other nations need our assistance and they're allies of ours, I'm not opposed to that necessarily. Do you believe in having a global impact, having our footprints around the world globally to make sure that, the world is a better place or a safer place to some degree? Do you believe in us playing that kind of role?
First and foremost, I do not support Ukraine. I do not support Zelensky. I think he's a modern day Bolshevik who's mass sending Christians to slaughter in an unwinnable war. He's just mass murdering Christians. And so if you're telling me at least, Putin is defending Christians at this single moment, and I don't pick Putin over Ukraine, but I know that Ukraine is more corrupt because we conducted a color revolution and we installed someone in Ukraine back in 2014. John McCain was behind that. And this is what we do all over the world. These fake protests, and then we overthrow a duly elected leader. And that's what we did in Ukraine. So Ukraine is a corrupt country and it's a laundromat of America. Israel is not a democracy by any stretch of the imagination. You cannot say it is a democracy and then listen to their absolute BS excuses as to why Gaza is treated in the way that it is, and why Gaza doesn't have any voting rights. When we gave them voting rights, why are you giving them anything? If you're sitting here saying that at that moment you accepted that they could run what they wanted to in Gaza at that time, but you have the power to turn off the light, shut off the electricity, shut off the water. This is an apartheid state. This is what Gaza is, and I'm glad you're showing images. They have been treating these people basically just above the poverty line, not allowing too much food into Gaza for a very long time. And Norm Finkelstein was the person who woke me up to really how Gaza is run. It's an apartheid state. They don't have voting rights, and no one should support it and keep allowing people to call it a democracy. It's absolutely foolish. And again, that's because they keep us ignorant in America with ridiculous biblical arguments that are actually heretical, and it's not what the Bible is expressing at all. But all of that.
Get him, Candace.
Aside, going back to your question, yes, I am America first. I am not necessarily America only, but I am only going to be America first until we fix our issues. And that is, again, common sense, right? You have a household. If you got to feed your kids. If I said, hey, Steven, actually don't feed your kids, and I'm going to need you to feed the neighbor's kids. I'm going to need you to feed my kids, some people over that you don't even know out in Utah first, while your kids are starving, you would go, that makes no sense. Doesn't make any sense. Of course, I'm going to make sure my kids are fed first. This is America.
Perfect analogy. You wouldn't be like, well, I don't want to be the Smith household only. No, I'm the Smith household first. And if I got enough, then I'll give it to you, but we don't.
Let's make sure that our people are taken care of first, that our people are able to live well, to have jobs, and to feed their families before we go around trying to fix the world's problems. I mean, we send dollars for ridiculous things to establish, trans rights in Pakistan. Like, what are we doing? That's a laundromat. That money is obviously not going there. It's being stolen from the American people.
But what about the issues that's going on right here in this country when we're talking about the immigration issue in Los Angeles, and how you've got, the president sending 4,000 members of the National Guard, 700 Marines to the city of Los Angeles? Obviously, it sparked a protest throughout this nation. No Kings protest, because the left was going to be diametrically opposed to his position. It's not just stuff going on abroad. It's stuff going on right here in the street.
Just destroying their own fucking community. Nothing but destroying their own community. When has protesting like this worked? Not peaceful protesting like Dr. King, and it's just an overwhelming majority of people. And it wasn't just protesting. It was protesting and keeping their money away. It was boycotting also. People forget that. They protest and they boycott. And it was the money, like, damn, they ain't catching these buses. We got to change. It wasn't because they were protesting it and then still getting on the bus. They would have never got nothing. So these people sitting here protesting something and robbing jewelry stores. And California is a fucking, what do you call it? Like a safe state for immigrants. Like it's an immigrant city. It's a safe haven. So they already support you. So you're tearing up cities and businesses that already are democratic and they support what you're doing. So now they can't even support you and give you money. Like, immigrants are safe. It's not like they were in Texas somewhere or Arizona, like, oh, immigrants aren't safe here. We need to protest. They went to a place where the Governor Newsom, and the mayor and everybody else supports illegal immigrants and decided to tear the fucking place up. How does that make sense?
Streets of America. What do you say about that? Because like you said, fixing our own house obviously should be a priority in your eyes. I don't disagree with you there. But what do you have to say about that? What's been going on in L.A.?
Obviously, it is the job of the federal government when you have an incursion, as we did during Biden's administration, of millions of people coming across the border, to get those people out of the country. Who does that hurt? It hurts us, obviously, when all of these people are unaccounted for in our country and playing a part in the economy while they're not paying taxes. That's ridiculous. You got to go home. There was a legal way to get into this country. I know, because I married an immigrant, and it took us 7 years. Okay, 7 years for my husband to go through the process to become a legal American. So I am especially insulted when these people pretend that there's just no way to do this. It's a long process. It's a hard process, but you can do that. And you're not going to tell me that all of these people need to stay in a country that they've been in for less than 4 years, especially the newcomers under Biden's like very open border policy. Americans suffer when people are in this country unaccounted for. Sorry, adios, amigos. You got to go home. I don't care at all. You got to follow the rules. I'm not going to feel bad for you because you broke the law and got away with it while there was a different
She did too much. Adios, amigos.
President. And to the extent that you're going to have individual states saying, oh, no, we're going to allow people to break the law. And yet everyone in the entire Tennessee, whether you're in Texas, Tennessee, we all have to pay for it. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely, we are going to all have to pay for it. Why should I have to go to work to pay for people that broke into this country? So I don't understand it. But going back to your question, of course, this should be addressed first, right? These are uprisings that are taking place in America. These are issues and debates that need to be had and won in America. And that is another reason why we should not be having discussions about what Israel is doing. They're always doing the same thing. They're bombing innocent people and claiming that they have a right to do it.
Ooh.
Please don't tell me your feelings about what you just described going on in L.A. in terms of the immigration issue. You don't feel that way about the children, do you? Children, I mean,
it doesn't matter if it's to say that the argument is that
why he's saying it like that? I don't like the way he put that question. Don't tell me you say the same thing about the children, right? That's crazy the way he
child is allowed to break the law. And let me tell you why that's really wrong. They say this is like the separation argument. You're going to separate them from their parents. No, first off, everyone should go home together. You should take your child and you should go back to Mexico. The second thing that I want to say about how ridiculous that is we would never have the argument that if, let's use an example of a black man commits a crime in America, you know, let's say he shot someone and now he's got to go to prison. We wouldn't say, please tell me that you considered, Judge, that, yeah, he shot someone. Yeah, he broke the law, but he has a child. So please don't imprison him. Please allow him to be released back onto the streets. No. You
would never say that.
You break the law, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, coming from another country, there has to be a consequence for that. And we understand that.
Just brought that up the other day.
On a molecular level. Of course, you're going to be separated from your child and go to prison if you break the law. It's the exact same thing here. Your children and you should not be separated, should all have to go home. When your parent breaks the law, unfortunately, the children have to suffer the consequences of that. Sometimes daddy has to go to jail. Sometimes daddy has to go back to Mexico.
You're very, very popular. You don't need my help in being even more popular, but you're going to get it anyway, because anybody that I bring on from now on that has an opposition to anything you said, I'm going to play your clips, Candace. I'm going to play your clips for them to see. I'm going to say, hey, did you see what she said? What's your response? I'm just letting you know in advance. I'm going to be like, look, did you hear what she said? Just so you know, because I want you to know there's folks out there that think like this. They feel this way and they're making very valid points. I just want y'all to know that. But
why he acting like he don't feel that way though? I don't like that. Why he acting like he don't feel it? Some people.
Listen, before I let you get on out of here, and I really appreciate your time, I know I got to let you go. I had to get back to Tucker Carlson because of the War Room podcast. He had told host Steve Bannon this about his former employer, Fox News. Check this out, Candace.
That's not by popular acclaim. That's not like their viewer surveys. Like, we need a lot more Mark Levin. Less Jesse Waters, more Mark Levin. Mark Levin! What they're doing is what they always do, which is just turning up the propaganda hose to full blast and just trying to, knock elderly Fox viewers off their feet and make them submit to a new war.
This is where
Here's my problem
The doo-doo face.
with Tucker Carlson on this one, Candace. I heard none of that when he was at Fox News. None of it. None of it. Now I'm hearing this from him. Now that's my only issue. What do you have to say about what
you weren't watching Tucker before he got fired. There's a reason he got fired. Wow. Tucker was standing up to the war machine. He was standing up to Ukraine. That is the literal reason why Fox News got rid of Tucker. He was anti-war. And he has, by the way, admitted, and we are all subject to changing our opinions. In the past, when he was on CNN, actually, I think he was very pro-Iraq war. And how wrong he was on the Iraq war, and he believed in the weapons of mass destruction, was that provided the turning point for him to be anti-war when he realizes that actually this is a machine. And so while he was at Fox News, he's covered a ton of things. But when it came down to a new war, Tucker was bringing in people online to talk about why we absolutely should not be going to war with Ukraine. And it became problematic for the execs because just what he's saying, they appealed to a market of people who believe that there's a threat around the corner, elderly people who need to believe that nukes are going to be dropped on them because they grew up in a generation where there was a nuclear threat with Cuba. And Tucker Carlson was not serving them, so he had to go.
Last question to you, and again.
And you got to think, both Candace and Tucker both were kind of on the right because they were they were seen as being against the Democrats and everything they did. And they kind of liked that spotlight. But then they, for different reasons, they both got into kind of a little argument, a little tuffles with the right too. And then they got ousted by them and they said, oh shit. So I've been going at the left and the right like this too. So I'm gonna just be in the middle. So they both had to go through something. But here in the cave, we don't got to go through nothing. I ain't on either side. I learned from them. I seen them too. I see them all and we in the middle. The truth usually lies in the middle. We look at both sides here. That's all we do. I ain't got to go through nothing and be like, oh, the Republicans betrayed me. Nah, the Democrats bad right now. They're worse than the Republicans, and the Republicans still bad. And when it change, I'll call them on that bullshit.
Thank you for your time. I know you got to go. I got to ask you this question. I was watching a video of you. I don't know whether it was from weeks ago or so. I'm trying to remember the date, but you was talking about, watching what you say because you're going to be banned, but you don't care. This is how it is. You absolutely don't mind, etc., because you're going to keep on going. What are your expectations for you? What are your expectations for those who are as outspoken as you on these very, very sensitive issues moving forward, considering the landscape that we're living in? YouTube shows, podcasting, etc., linear television in the fourth estate, and the politics that invade it from time to time are ever present. We all know this. What are your expectations for yourself moving forward? What are you looking forward to? What do you fear, if anything?
You got to keep going.
I think last year was really kind of the test for me where I chose truth and I was severely caricatured and attacked in the media, lost my job. And on the other side of that, for sticking to truth, the reward has been actually my platform has gotten even bigger and more people are listening to me than ever before. And so I hope what people learn from that is while telling the truth is hard because lies spread quicker, a lie is quicker. It's the race of the tortoise and the hare. At the end of the day, when the truth gets around to it, it always wins. It's more powerful. Because you only have to hear the truth once to know that it's true, whereas lies have to be told repeatedly to try to convince you the other way. And so I'm going to keep telling the truth and see where the chips land because I know where they're going to land. It's going to land inevitably on the side of justice and reality and truth. So that's where I'll be.
Candace, I appreciate you. You know that. I love having you on the show. I love listening to you. Some of the stuff is scary as hell, Candace. I ain't gonna lie to you now. As you edify yourself and you learn more and more and you hear your truth is actually the truth in a lot of circumstances, okay? At the end of the day, it still gets a bit scary, but like you said, it calls for bravery from time to time. There's no question about.
Let's see if there's anything new on Iran. He got making me a little like, why are you making this? Like, shucking and jive. I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
That, and all of us need to stand up and have it. So I'm certainly not going to engage in condemnation like a lot of people. And me, I'm an independent, but I've always been appalled at the black community and in terms of how we've acted towards black conservatives. My attitude is hear what folks has to say, decipher what's true and what's false, and attack them based on that, as opposed to thinking they're supposed to think a certain way, and if they don't, how dare you? I love the fact that you're contrary in that regard, that you stand up, that you're fearless in that regard, and I really, really appreciate it. I don't always agree with you, girl. And you're a supporter of what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is doing as it pertains to Israel and its situation with Iran. Not to mention other things that she did not, she didn't avoid. What's happening in Gaza, how folks are being displaced.
She ain't avoided nothing. Let's see what the comments say. Came here just because of Candace. Never seen this pie before. I have to say the way the host treated the guests was very impressive. See some people like that. This is exactly what's needed. People willing to discuss the uncomfortable with everyone. A public back and forth until a clear picture emerges. I have tremendous fear of God. That's why you have to tell the truth. This statement alone made me respect Candace. Good people gonna find good people. Came just for Candace. Huge fan of her and her mind. As a former U.S. soldier, no more wars in the Middle East. Come on, yeah. That's what we're saying. Same, agreed. Amen. Ex-Army wife, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Agreed. No more wars in the Middle East. Agreed, and thank you for your service. Don't use Tupac lyrics. Agreed. Already did the Middle East tours multiple times. Now that my son is about to turn 18 and admires his father's past, I'm 100% out. People don't want to send their fucking kids to war. This is how interviews should be done. Go, great conversations. It was so funny watching Tucker cook Ted Cruz like a Texas steak on Iran. When was being against war wrong? That's crazy, right? Gain my respect. You gained his respect. Yeah, I think I don't see nobody just saying, fuck it, let's go, let's take Israel. I think that shit fake. It should be America first and America only. I can't afford to support my neighbors when my own family is suffering. Yeah. So imagine when the stock market tank, everything. We all fucking working. Forget IT. We all going back to the metal shops because now everybody are at war. Let me see what this is 2 hours ago. I just want to take a look at this.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel can hit all of Iran's nuclear sites, including Fordow, without help from the United States.
Hey, there you go. Look at this war criminal. Look at him. Just look at him.
President Trump will do what's best for America. I trust his judgment. He's a tremendous friend, a tremendous world leader, a tremendous friend of Israel and the Jewish people. And we will do what we have to do, and we are doing it. We are committed to destroying the nuclear threat, the threat of a nuclear annihilation against Israel. We're able to do it. And we, of course, will make our own determination.
But some military analysts say that America's bunker buster bomb is the only thing that has a chance at destroying Fordow, which is believed.
Nah, we got to believe Israel. Now we don't believe him. He's saying that they could do it by itself, then let him do it. And if Iran fucked them up, then they get messed up.
General Keane, so the White House official told Fox News that the U.S. Air Force has no doubt about the efficacy of this massive ordnance penetrator. They also say no option's been taken off the table, including tactical nukes. What do you think is the best way forward in terms of the weapon to use to destroy Fordow?
Well, I think this is the best weapon. I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu, in terms of dealing with his domestic audience and his obligation to protect them against all weapons out there, is making those statements with that in regard. I mean, he does have options. He can do a commando-type raid on the facility, put an air cap of fighters over it while they go down. It takes time, blow up a facility of that. And can he get those people out of there unharmed is another issue. There's a lot more risk. They can hit the electric grid that drives the centrifuges and the ventilation system as well. But all of those may be able to achieve an end result with a fair amount of risk. The best option is the option that you're talking about, is the MOP, so to speak, because of its vast capability to distribute this, bring the system down. We don't know for certain because we've never used it on a mountain of rock like that where the facility is 300 feet into the ground. But it still remains the best option. You don't walk away from it because it may not be perfect. Eisenhower's going into Normandy, and the chances, he said it out loud, probably 50-50. What was the alternative? We lose the war.
Yeah.
What's the alternative here? They get a nuclear weapon? Of course we're going to try it. I mean, the president offered...
We're not going to stop them from getting a nuke. Even if we hit this facility, they say probably put it back 2 years. But then they're going to have a reason, like, oh, you killed our leader, blah, blah, blah. Now they're going to have a reason. You don't stop them. You just try to put safeguards on it and negotiate one. But this thing, like, we're going to beat them into submission. They're going to say, okay. All right, it's okay. We were going to have nukes, but now we're not going to do it. We're going to tell our scientists it's off limits. It's fine. They still going to do it in secret.
To Prime Minister Netanyahu about a week or two ago, he said, if you need our help, let us know.
Yeah. Cheryl has a question for you, but right before we get to that, I just want to ask you to address a chief criticism that I have heard of those who fear forever wars. There's been the suggestion, I think President Trump's made it clear, look, I'm not trying to take out Khomeini right now. I'm not asking for regime change. I'm looking at this strike. Is it possible to separate the two and ensure a forever war does not happen, but that Iran does not get nuclear weapons with a strike on Fordo?
Yeah, I really find this argument quite shallow and a bit absurd. Yes, Iraq and Afghanistan, these are the cases that are referred to forever wars. Those were choices to go in and take a regime down. I'm not going to relitigate the reasons. Take a regime down in both cases, physically take them down, occupy the country, and rebuild the country so it can survive on its own. That became...
And we didn't do that at all.
...quote, a forever war or a protracted war. What do we have on the table here? This is Israel's war against Iran. They have no intentions whatsoever of putting a ground force into Iran, of decapitating the regime physically or in occupying Iran. And we certainly have none of those options on the table. All we are doing is participating in Israel's war. And we want to do one thing. In addition to providing intelligence and logistics, a lot of munitions that they're using came from us.
And they just supposed to sit there? After we help Israel do that, they just supposed to sit there? Or maybe they got, a couple hundred people here waiting to go off like splinter cells, and they just got them sitting here, spies, waiting to tell them, destroy that. Wait till the next Macy's parade. Wait till Thanksgiving. Wait till Christmas. Blow this up. Blow this train station up. You think they're just going to let us interfere in the war and just take it on the chin?
They want us to take down a target for them that they don't have certainty they can destroy. A target. And what I think the message should be to the Ayatollah from the president is, we intend to do this limited strike in Israel's war. We are not going to war with you. We are supporting our partner. However...
And he's not even saying that. He's saying, like, oh, yeah, I better do this. And he wanted to issue some threat, right? Some fucking threat. Like, oh, we ready. We big and bad. We got everything in America. We could afford it.
If you retaliate against us, then you're going to get war from the United States. And you will suffer the consequences. And that war will be an air and maritime strike on him. There would be no intention to go in there, invade the country, change the regime, and occupy it. That's off the table.
It just will be a side effect because we're going to be hitting them.
And we should stop talking about a forever war being the outcome of one limited airstrike.
General, I wanted to ask you about Israel's military capabilities. There's some new analysis this morning from the Wall Street Journal. It talks about the weight on the Israeli economy and also on their forces because of the amount of attacks they're conducting on Iran right now. These interceptor missiles that they're using, those are $200 million a day that it's costing them. Building repairs that we're seeing with the damage, that's $400 million. And they say that in general, that the Israelis only have about 4 weeks, and that would be a $12 billion hit. to them economically, as well as they are going through these weapons and these missiles.
And then we'll have to give them some more money.
Is there a way for the United States to facilitate help on that end? And also the other issue is, you mentioned Iran and the Houthis in the top of the show. I wanted to ask you about this because the U.S. Treasury just sanctioned a bunch of Houthi-tied organizations that are going after the oil revenue.
Yeah, modern warfare is very expensive. And you've seen it when we're using our weapon systems, how expensive they are. And when we're using $1 million weapon system to shoot a drone out of the air that costs $5,000 or something like that, there's something wrong with that picture. But the reality is, Israel has never been down this road before, since their existence in 1948. In their minds, this is definitely a protracted war. Their military is organized around a small active duty force to fight something that is not going to be elongated. They bring in where the majority of the force is their reserves, and their plan is 40 days at the max. Well, look where we are. And that has taken a toll on their society in a way that no other war prior to this has.
They 2 years in now.
All of those wars have lasted weeks. This one has lasted months and now going into years. So that is an economic burden. I think it's a psychological and emotional burden. I think the fact that the hostages, given the numbers they took and the length of time that they're still in captivity, has captured the nation quite seriously in terms of their compassion for what has taken place. Remember the one soldier that they held for over a year, and the whole nation was involved in getting that soldier back. They were all committed to it.
Look, I'm taking a look at the comments because this is the same thing. You always got the one guy, Fox, who's just a war fucking hog. On that other show, Garfield, they got the Tyrus dude. It's just always one, that dude. I don't know. This man is so intelligent and analytical. It breaks down everything perfectly not the way college students see it, I guess. Yep, the always for warmongering, old fool. Go ahead, Israel, without America. Good God is with you. We America love and respect Israel and all Israelis. We do, but we don't want to go to war. Good God, General Kane, tell them the difference between creating a government and fighting a war. Kane is a brilliant man. Yeah, he could be a brilliant man. Forever war in this situation is very silly. They don't know anything. It's a forever war because they will forever fucking target us. There will be more 9/11 type events. You're just thinking about now. Talking about forever. When you dead and go with your kids here and they still remember when America bombed the shit out of the Persian people. All 92 million of them remember that. When people get hit, as they always do. When you take somebody, brother, aunt, niece, father, son, friend, neighbor, when you taking them off the street because you hit a building or a site, a military site, like there's just some robots there. If you hit a military site, that's their regular people. Just like if you hit a military site here, you hit some Marines or some soldiers, those are people, family. It's not just some fucking make some fairyland. Like a military site mean people are getting killed, humans that people care about. So that is a forever war. When they got the Houthis and Hezbollah and all these other people, you don't think they're going to come for American interests in other places? You won't be able to, you could be, oh, I'm rich and I'm a football player, basketball player, I got millions of dollars, I'm a business owner, but you can't go nowhere because Americans on restriction throughout half the fucking globe because terrorist organizations got the green light on Americans everywhere. And at the same time, you can't even go to Mexico right down the street. I can go to Cancun now because cartel gonna have a fucking green light on you too because the immigration stuff. Nah. Oh, I'm gonna go to Asia. Okay, yeah, but they're gonna have all these tariffs now. They're gonna be looking at Americans all crazy and shit. You just can't take what you want. Like, we try it. It's never been good. The regime changes has never been good, and it's gonna happen. Like, what do you think happens if we sit there and take away all the weapons? Either we gonna change it or another group gonna be like, oh, they weak right now. They getting bombed. Let's go take control. What if one of the terrorist group, Hezbollah, go in Iran and be like, oh, you know what? Fuck being the leader of a terrorist organization. Let's go take over. Let's go. Yeah, we already, most of the generals out. We could take over the military. Let's just go in. Come on, let's focus on the milk, eggs, cereal, bread, and all gas. Let's focus on that in America. Let's stop it. President Trump, call for them to stop and tell Netanyahu, look, stop. This is enough. You got 60,000 people dead in Gaza, kids starving. Let's fix this. Let's get some aid in there. We're not going to another war. We'll make some type of agreement when we monitor theirs and we monitor y'all's, and we come on. We say what they can do and what they cannot do. And then now if they fuck up because we telling them, now we'll put something on them. But you going to listen and you're going to listen. That's it. No disrespect, Israel. You can do whatever you wanted to. But look, we ain't going to keep helping you or giving you money. That's it, point blank range. Let me know what y'all think, Cave Dwellers. If you make it this far, like, share, subscribe, all that. We'll be back on soon. Let me know what y'all think. America first, America only.